All right, we have all pros here. That's right, the all pros have been announced. So I'm going to go through the list, say who won all pro, and then give my thoughts on each pick. So yeah, let's just get into it. Starting off with, let's not bury the lead here. Kind of the most important one here. Lamar Jackson is the all pro for quarterback. And the reason why this matters so much is the same voters who vote for this also vote for MVP. Now, does this mean Lamar Jackson is guaranteed to win MVP? No, it doesn't, because there's other players who probably are going to get first place MVP votes other than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I think Saquon Barkley is going to get some first place votes, and I think Joe Burrow might get some first place votes. And remember, this is now ranked choice. It's not just whoever gets the most first place votes wins the award. You now pick five MVP players. So it is, in theory, possible that Lamar Jackson could win the All-Pro for quarterback and Josh Allen could win the MVP. That's very rare, though. Almost certainly, Lamar Jackson is going to win MVP. Keep in mind, the last I checked the odds was at the end of the regular season, but Josh Allen was favored to win the MVP award. So that's going to change. Lamar Jackson's odds have just shot way up. And if you made a bet on Lamar winning MVP, you're feeling pretty good about yourself right now. As for the backs, this is kind of an obvious one, at least for the Saquon Barkley. He was always going to win. If he's getting MVP votes, he's certainly going to be the All-Pro for running back. Patrick Ricard with the fullback. I will say, Derrick Henry, kind of crazy he doesn't end up as an All-Pro. And we'll get into that where I believe there's actually a flex with the wide receivers. So these are the three receivers who got in. Usually they will do a flex. They have changed All-Pros recently, so I'm not sure if that's still the case. But I believe Amon-Ra St. Brown is the flex pick, meaning that he beats out Derrick Henry. Listen, I'm not going to argue against Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Derrick Henry, it feels weird that he doesn't get a spot, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, it would feel weird if he didn't get a spot. Jamar Chase and Jefferson, though, were obvious locks from the jump at wide receiver. There's so many good wide receivers, but yeah, I have no beef with these three guys. Two of them in the NFC North, interestingly enough, getting the All-Pro. For tight end, Brock Bowers is going to get the award, so a rookie offensive player getting All-Pro. It does make you wonder, could he get Rookie of the Year? Like, I wonder how many players, I'm sure it's happened with offensive linemen, but how many non-offensive linemen win All-Pro and then don't end up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year? Usually, it probably would be they lose to another All-Pro. I bet it's very rare to get All-Pro but not Offensive Rookie of the Year, but that's pretty crazy. He's great. He was easily the best receiving tight end in football this year. Not a horrible blocker either. So yeah, I think it's totally worth the award here. As for offensive line, I'm going to try to move off screen as much as possible just to give as much space because I don't want this to get too small on your screen. But you see from left to right, Tristan Wirfs of Tampa Bay, Joe Thuney and Creed Humphrey, both of Kansas City, Quinn Miernitz of the Broncos, and then Penei Sewell. So, totally agree with Sewell. I when I did my All Pros on the podcast last week, I had 3 of the 5 players. I do feel like Jordan Mailata got a little bit robbed here at left tackle. He missed a little bit of time, so I understand it. I think it's the snaps, and Tristan Wirfs is so good. So Tristan Wirfs, already 2 All-Pros this early on into his career. He's trying to build a Hall of Fame case. And then the right guard, I'm a little surprised Chris Lindstrom of Atlanta didn't get in. But again, these are 5 definitely really quality offensive linemen, so I'm not gonna critique it too much. Heading over to defense, this is the other major, I think, shoe to drop here. So heading into this week, the kind of neck and neck 2-horse race for Defensive Player of the Year, TJ Watt and Pat Surtain. A big part of it is TJ Watt was kind of a lock for it halfway through the season, but then he kind of did, I don't want to say fall off, but he wasn't quite as dominant in the second half, and some other players just kind of passed him, to the point where now Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson are the two players that get the All-Pro. Again, 3 guys all in the same division. There's a lot of pass rushers in that division. Poor Lamar Jackson, right, having to deal with all these guys. But I mean, to be honest, I agree with it. I mean, Trey Hendrickson, what he was able to do with the team behind him, still leading the league in sacks. Still, I think his advanced stats are like incredible. And Myles Garrett, he's always at the top of the list in like every advanced stat. So yeah, I have no real beef with these 2 guys getting the All Pros. Even though I know, again, TJ Watt is TJ Watt. You could argue a case for him, but I think these 2 guys are fair this year. As for interior defensive linemen, it's hard to argue against Cameron Hayward and Chris Jones. It's also hard to argue against Dexter Lawrence, right? And he just missed enough time that I think that what we're seeing is the voters valued playing time because Chris Jones had 200 more snaps than Dexter Lawrence. So Lawrence, as dominant as he was, I think if he finishes out the year, he probably gets Chris Jones' spot, which would be crazy for Chris Jones to not get a spot. But that's really what it comes down to. And again, fair enough, right? I think you can argue either any of those three. Some really good players here. As for the linebackers, so there's three linebackers here. Again, I'm not exactly sure if this is one of those flex situations as well, or if the All-Pro just has three linebackers, because it feels a little weird to get three linebackers when just no team in the NFL plays with three linebackers regularly. There might be a specific situation you put them in, but I feel like teams are more likely to play with three safeties than three linebackers at this point. Zach Bond and Fred Warner both were on my All-Pro, and Roquan Smith's interesting because, okay, I was looking at his PFF grades. PFF always hates Roquan Smith's game. I think part of it is just how much they ask of him. Baltimore will ask Roquan Smith to do so much, like play one-on-ones against, running backs consistently and even in tight ends. And they just ask a lot of him. He doesn't get a lot of help there because he is a good player. So it's just that dilemma of his advanced stats, even not just PFF grades, but other advanced stats tend to not be great. But at the same time, it's because he's getting asked to do so much. So I'm not sure if he would have been my pick for the third linebacker, to be honest. I think I probably would have gone with Bobby Wagner, but I think he's still a very good player. So, again, I'm not going to criticize too much good players getting all pros. As for the corners, again, this is interesting, right? Because as I mentioned, Patrick Surtain and TJ Watt were kind of fighting for Defensive Player of the Year. Watt not getting All-Pro. Surtain has to shoot up in those rankings. Maybe he's going to win the award. Maybe Trey Hendrickson comes in and takes it. But this is a big, big day for Patrick Surtain, although he's more focused on his playoff game tomorrow. Derek Stingley Jr. and Marlon Humphrey. Okay, so here's my thing. I have no beef with these three as All-Pros. If we're going to do three corners, sure. I get that. Why is Marlon Humphrey a slot corner? He plays some slot. He does. I looked it up. He played about 300 snaps in the slot. He played 900 snaps overall. Marlon Humphrey, I think I would probably put him as the second best corner in this season behind Surtain. He definitely deserves the award. It's just a confusing thing of why is he getting the slot part? It's just because he plays some slot. Should there have to be a number of how many snaps you play? Because you don't think of Marlon Humphrey and think slot corner. In fact, a large part of why he'll play the slot sometimes is he'll play an opponent who puts their best receiver in the slot, and then he goes to the slot to play the best receiver, because that's, again, the Ravens, when they have star players, they say, you're doing it all, we're relying on you. He totally deserved it. He was unreal this year. So again, no beef with these three, but it's just, if we're going to have a slot corner position, then in my opinion, Stingley, who it would feel unfair to take him out, but Stingley should probably be taken out, and it should be Humphrey and Surtain, and then a slot corner. If we're just going to put three corners, then these three are fine. It feels like the voters wanted to pick these three guys, and so they found a way to make it work, which is not how this is supposed to work, right? So beef with the categorization here, but no beef with these three players who all deserve all pros. And then finally with the safety stuff, and again, this is why part of me was a little bit harsher on the, why we're doing three linebackers and letting Roquan Smith get the pick, if that is a flex. In my opinion, Kyle Hamilton, a different Ravens player, should have gotten a pick. I would put Hamilton over Roquan because, to me, I think Kyle Hamilton was amazing this year. Kirby Joseph joins the now pretty long list of players who don't get elected to the Pro Bowl but do get an All-Pro. In fact, it happened at the safety position just last year. Antoine Winfield wasn't elected to the Pro Bowl because it's weird. There's only two free safeties that get elected to the Pro Bowl, one for each team. And then you look at this, the two safeties that are selected for All-Pro, both free safeties in the NFC, both in the same division. So it just kind of meant you can only pick one. But yeah, Kirby Joseph deserving. Again, I'll say this. I think Xavier McKinney was awesome this year. He had the interception totals as well, which is probably what did it, along with being awesome. I thought Kyle Hamilton was a little better. I would have liked Kyle Hamilton in this spot, personally. Kyle Hamilton, who, if I remember correctly, didn't get the All-Pro last year either. So I don't know what the voters have against Kyle Hamilton. Actually, correction. I just looked it up. He did get it last year. So okay, so he's gotten one. Was it Jesse Bates who got left off? I forget. Either way, there was some good safeties last year. But yeah, those are the All Pros. Interesting enough. Let me know in the comments below. What do you disagree with? What do you disagree with me on? I'm sure there's gonna, I gave some opinions, so feel free to disagree with those in the comments as well. What are your thoughts? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.